Welcome, everyone. We are not going to start the presentation right away. Instead, I have this slideshow of my previous sketch notes, a selection of it, so you can see how I progress from my very first one to adding more colors and other techniques. So please just hang out in the chat, talk to each other, say hi. We'll start in 15 minutes or so.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our meetup, Sketchnoting for All. My name is Margaret Mina-Reed. I'm the lead organizer of GDG Seattle. Hello. Yanchi.
Hello.
So yeah, we also on the line, we have Yanchi here, who's an organizer of GDG Seattle. And this is a joint event of GDG Seattle and GDG Boulder. I would like to welcome Chiu-Ki Chan to this event. She is going to teach us how to do sketchnoting. And welcome, Chiu-Ki.
Thank you, Margaret. And welcome, everybody. This is my first time doing a hands-on workshop on the internet, so please excuse us if there are hiccups. So the way it's going to work is I will be doing the presentation, then we'll be sketching together. So make sure that you have a pen, not a pencil, a pen, and a piece of paper. Any piece of paper is fine, just something that is kind of, your normal printer size paper. What we're going to do is in the first half of the presentation, you'll be following, literally copying what I do. And then the second half, I will be giving just a normal presentation with slides, and you will use the skills that you just learned by copying me to take notes, sketch notes for the second half. And then that is going to be a complete sketch note at the end that we are going to share. The way I plan to have the sharing happen is we're going to use the hashtag sketchnoting for all, the letter 4. It will be on the slide. And then everybody will post it on Twitter, and then we can search by the hashtag to literally compare notes to see what everybody did. Because even though you're taking the same class, everybody is going to come out with something different. All right. So welcome, everybody. I'm seeing the chat. There's a lot of people from all over the place. I'm so excited. And I'm trying to be making this as interactive as I can. So please ask questions. I won't be watching the chat, but Margaret will be. So she will be trying to make sure that she say the question out loud and I can hear it and I can pause and answer the questions. So let me know if I'm going too fast or, you just need me to get you a little bit more guidance. All right. Okay. So are you ready? Do you have your pen and paper? Okay. So the first part of the presentation, you're not writing quite yet. So you'll have a little bit of time, but just be ready. Okay, so Margaret, is it possible to make the slides a bit bigger and my head a bit smaller? If not, I can just proceed. Okay, I'm just going to wait a little bit to see if we can make the slides bigger because I think you will see better. All right, thank you. All right, so sketchnoting for all, here we go. How many of you read the Cyrillic alphabet or speak Russian? So don't type anything in the chat if you understand this, okay? Just keep it to yourself. For the rest of you, if I tell you today that, all right, your new job is you need to be able to write the Russian alphabet. Do you think you can learn it? I bet you will say, yes, sure, why not? And for some reason, we are perfectly happy to learn a new skill like the Russian alphabet. But when it comes to drawing, you just say, no, I don't know how to draw. As if people who can draw are just born with the ability to draw, much like they are born with the ability to speak a language. So for those of you who are Russian speakers, that said sushi. And it is just an alphabet. You just take each letter and you sound it out and it makes the sound sushi. And learning to draw and learning to write are very similar. You take an existing alphabet, you copy it until you learn it. So for example, if I want to learn to draw sushi, I'm not going to sit here and imagine how sushi look like. I'll actually go and look for a picture of sushi, and then I'm going to copy it. I'm going to figure out how the strokes work. And then let me click on this video. I'm going to do it stroke by stroke. I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to then make it into a cylinder and then draw the whole sushi. But the point is, you can learn this. You can absolutely figure out the components of drawing. So let's do it. Much like doing the alphabet, drawing is about doing small little components and then put them together. So now's the time to make sure that you have a pen, and any pen works. The only thing is I don't want you to use a pencil because I don't want you to be second guessing yourself and erasing. So just make something that you're going to put your pen down on paper, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my drawing and you are going to follow along. So the first thing, I'm sure everybody can do that, is put the date in the corner. All right. And then what I usually do is I put down my own name as a Twitter handle so that when people get this sketchnote later, they can find me on Twitter. For some reason, I have taken to the habit of doing it sideways, so I'm going to continue.
Quick question, Chiu-Ki. Someone is asking, is it important to have a black pen? Would a sketch pen work as well?
I don't know what is a sketch pen, but sure. Anything works. Like I said, as long as it's not a pencil, because I don't want you to keep modifying it. So yeah, I think a sketch pen works.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have the date and just your name. Usually I do it before the talk starts, and I will also write down the title of the talk. And I like to make the title big. And one technique that I find a little bit complicated, but not really, is just to make block letters. So here's one way that everybody can do. If you do just a writing normally, so let's say I write the word sketch. And then I'm going to make it thicker. So follow along and make each stroke thicker. Now you may be like, I don't like it. There are extra lines. But you know what? This is all about owning your style. Once you convince yourself that, hey, you know what? This is my style, it actually looks pretty good. Let me just finish that up. I like it. So the other style that I do is block letters, but just the outline. So this takes a little bit of practice because you actually need to think ahead and put down your strokes so that they don't cross. Either style is fine. I also like to just look around and see what other styles are available. Ooh, S is a bit complicated. You see how I have to join them this way and that way? Well, the thing is there are only 26 letters in the English alphabet, so you can practice ahead of time before you go into the talk if you want to do this style or any other style. And after this, so for example, this talk is actually called Sketchnoting for All, and I put sketch notes. It's not a problem. It's your notes, right? So if you want to change it, you can smudge it out and change the title. Or you can just go ahead and continue the title with for all. Just write it down like that. You don't have to do big letters for everything. Afterwards, what I like to do is to put down the Twitter handle of the speaker, which in this case is also me, so kind of strange, but for you it won't be. So I will put down the handle of the speaker. And then also if the conference has any hashtags, I will also put that down. So for us, it will be sketchnoting. Did I spell sketch right? All right, I'm getting really nervous, I guess. So let me show you the power of smudging. So let's say, okay, oops, I made a mistake. What do? I said pen, no pencils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a little funny cloud shape and just smudge it out. the whole idea is that you own your style. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, that's fine. So I'm going to smudge it out and I'm going to write again. So let's say sketch, spell it right this time. Noting for all. Well, if you don't like that smudge, you can add a little thing, make it like a thought bubble. The reason why I want to show you live is I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes and it's fine. Usually what happens when you see the sketch note is like, oh, okay, it looks nice and handwritten and custom. So, okay, everybody got this part, got your title down, your date, your name, the speaker name, and the hashtag. You don't have to do everything. This is literally your notes, but I just want you to kind of copy and warm up. Okay, now I'm going to show you these other things that you could do. But first, let's write down bullet point number 1 that we learned, which is we're using big letters. Big letters. So this is the first thing in your sketchnoting toolbox. Like I showed you, you just need to write down all capital letters and then thicken it. So it's not too complicated. The next thing, it is very, very meta because the next thing I'm going to add to your toolbox is bullet point, which is under a bullet point itself. So bullets, usually what you think of is something like this. Yeah, that's a note. To make it a sketch note, instead of making a dot, you can use a heart. And here we go, we are sketchnoting. So it's good to have a few shapes ready to go. I like to use a star. Somehow it looks better when I color in, so I will color in. And then also triangle. Triangle is a very easy shape that just livening it up a bit. And then if the speaker is talking about pros and cons, I also like to use check mark and a cross. That's it. That's how you elevate a boring old note into a sketch note. You make bullet points into hearts and stars. You can do it, right? Even though you think you cannot draw. Next is slightly more complicated, but I think you can still handle this. We are going to add containers. So let's write the word containers. What I mean by that. So let's say the speaker says something interesting and you want to quote her. So what you do is you write down the quote and then you make a speech bubble around it. And that's it. I mean, do you even call that drawing? Another one that is quick and easy to do is a cloud. So again, write down whatever word that you want to highlight. And then make a cloud around it. All right? One more thing. This is the most complicated thing you are going to do tonight, which is a ribbon. I'm going to do it all at once first, and then I'll go show you each step. So again, you have the word. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box. And then I'm going to add legs to the box. And then I'm going to connect the legs back to the box. And then extend the bottom of those legs. And then make a parallel line so that it looks like a ribbon. Finish it off. Okay, that was really fast. So what I want you to do is to break it up into each step so that when you take this piece of paper and take a look later, you can remember how to do the ribbon. All right, let's do it. So the first step is we write the word, then we put a box. Then I'm not going to write the word again. I'm just going to draw the box. With the box, I'm going to add some legs. And then we are going to have this again, but with the legs connected. After that, well, you still have to repeat all the steps. And then you add this back. And finally, add the parallel line. And then voila, you get your ribbon. So this kind of illustrates how I learned sketchnoting. I have been paying a lot more attention to just comic books or icons and other things that I see everywhere, and using my engineering brain to reverse engineer it and say, hey, okay, if I want to draw this, how do I break down the structure so that I can do it step by step? So for the ribbon, I figured that out, I practiced, and then I go into a conference, and then I can do it on the go, right? I'm not sitting there reverse engineering things. I have this in my toolbox. When you start, you don't need a lot of things, to be honest, as long as you have a few that you vary a bit. So you have different text sizes, you have a heart for your bullet, and maybe you want to throw in a ribbon when you feel fancy. But I hope that this helps you to get your toolbox started. So one last thing in your toolbox are icons. So icons is interesting because that's the part that people are really frozen up on, because you have to draw and you don't know how to draw. Well, do you see what I did in the beginning when I tried to draw sushi? I went to this website called thenounproject.com, and then I searched for sushi, and then I copied it. So that's your trick. You've been doing it right now. You're copying what I'm doing. Continue. Go and see other things and copy it. Don't worry about copyright, because unless you are 100% perfect, you're interpreting what you're seeing. And for icons, I like to pick a few ahead of time and copy and learn so that when I go into a conference, I can just do it. So for example, I'm an Android developer, so I have practiced how to draw an Android icon. Otherwise, if there's something that the speaker came up and you really want to draw it, then what you can do is use your phone. You can search on the spot and then copy from the phone to your paper. That's totally fine. The part that was really just suffocating is somehow we think that we have to come up with everything from our head. And no, that's not how you learn. And I talked to my art major friends, and they said that that's what they did in college when they're learning to draw. They will copy masterpieces. So that is the you copy me part of this workshop. The next part, I'll be giving a normal presentation, and you are going to use the rest of your paper, hopefully you left some space, to take notes. And if you didn't, that's fine. Just take another piece of paper. We don't have to necessarily fit everything onto the same page. Again, a lot of this is very fluid. All right, hope you're ready. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my presentation. Okay, now I'm going to continue to tell you some tips and tricks. The first one I already talked about, which is to use a pen. The reason why I insist that you use a pen is because I used to use a pencil and I try to draw, and then I think it looks ugly and I erase, and then I keep trying, and then at the end of the day, nothing gets drawn. When you are at a conference, when you're watching a talk, there is no time to keep revising whatever you're doing. So use a pen, jot down whatever you have, and live with your mistakes. So I just left the title, I didn't correct it, or sometimes I'll smudge it over and draw it, change it into a heart or a cloud. A lot of the times it's really just in your head. You see your mistakes, but at the end of the day, when you see the whole product, it actually looks fine. So use a pen, don't second guess yourself. Next trick is time is space. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of people ask me, so how do you know how much space you should dedicate to each topic? My trick is I just take the time. So for example, if it is a 30-minute talk, then I know 10 minutes in, I should probably fill maybe 1/3 of my page. So I will check the time and I'll look at my notes. And if it is not that case, then I either make the words bigger or smaller, or I'll add more icons so that I take up more space so that I know it wouldn't be a big blank at the end. And even if you have a big blank at the end, that's fine, because you know what? You can crop your notes. If you want to take a picture of it and just crop the blank part out, it looks just fine. Again, a lot of it is about being flexible and working with what you have. The next trick is to take photos. We all have our phones with us, and well, don't be that person that just hold up the phone and just take every single slide. No. That's not going to be useful. What you want to do is to be strategic. So for example, when you see that there's an outline slide that tells like, okay, today I'm going to be talking about A, B, and C. So you can snatch that so that later you can use that to plan your layout, to figure out how much space to keep for the remaining topics. Another thing I like to take a picture of is tricky words. So maybe a word that I don't know how to spell, or it is a particular Java class that you really need to get it right because people don't know what it is, or URL. URL, again, you cannot tolerate any typos. So I want to take a picture, and then later I can copy it so that even if the speaker has moved on, I still have those words. I've already covered the links. And yes, I repeat myself a lot, but copy. This is the one and only way you're going to learn, and don't be ashamed of it. Again, art is not something that has to come from within. Art is something you can learn, and you learn by copying. So a lot of the times, the drawing bit is the difficult part. So copy from image search and copy from the noun project is totally fine. And when you do that, I don't have a slide for it, but for example, if you go to the noun project, you will see that there are multiple styles of the same thing, like a donut. Choose the one that you can draw. You don't have to just draw a donut, right? Like if your task is to draw a donut, there are still many ways to represent it. So the nice thing about the noun project is usually each noun that you search, there are multiple versions of it. So go ahead and take a look and take the one that you think you can manage. So maybe just a circle and then a circle inside and then some dots on it to represent the sesame. That's fine. You don't have to make it very fancy. And lastly, live tweeting is actually surprisingly similar in terms of the skills you need. What do I mean by live tweets? So you are sitting at a talk and you listen to the speaker and you find something interesting and you immediately write down that sentence and then send it out. So it's the same kind of skill you need to be able to understand, summarize, and act on the spot, and also live with your mistakes. And I find that a very good practice to just get that skill going. And with that, I would like you to share your sketch notes. And this is actually part of the tip. I know this whole talk is very meta. So sharing is very important because that's what keeps you going. I started my sketch note at a conference called Write Speak Code, and I thought it looked really ugly, but I shared it anyway. But people loved it, and that really propelled me to keep going. So today, I'm going to ask everybody to share with this hashtag sketchnoting for all. One trick that I want to show you is to use Google Photos to straighten and whiten so that it looks really good. So the way you do it, if you're on Android, I don't have an iPhone, so maybe it works on iPhone as well. So if you take a photo of your sketch notes and then you click on the settings button, the edit button, and then you click on the set of dots on the very right, you can select crop document. And then there you have 4 corners where you can drag, and they don't have to be at 90 degrees. So even if your notes are a little bit tilted, you can use that to then straighten it. And then you can select one of the filters to make it whiter. And then it looks like this. In fact, this treatment makes my sketch note look so good that sometimes people will ask me, oh, what app do you record your notes? And I'll be like, pen and paper. And they still think it's an app and go to the App Store to download it. So if you have Google Photo, that's a great way to just clean up your notes and make it look nice. All right. So that's the end of the workshop. Please take a picture and use Google Photo if you want to straighten it, and then share it to Twitter at hashtag Sketchnoting for all. And I'll be on for a little bit answering questions. And also I'm going to be refreshing Twitter and see if I can see your sketch notes. Thank you. Let me switch to Twitter. Okay, let's see if I can refresh this. Okay, it's loading right now. No one posted anything yet, so I will come back to it. Hopefully you all have made your sketch notes. Any questions?
Hey, thank you so much, Chiu-Ki. I was following and trying to do the sketchnoting. It's very interesting. So I have a question for you. I noticed that your sketching notes, like what you're showing right now, has some colors there. Do you have any recommendation for the audience? What kind of a pen, colored pen you would use?
Hold on, let me just switch back to the slideshow that I shared earlier so that you can see the examples. Okay, so I know someone may ask, so I have my markers ready. These are the markers I use. You don't have to use it. They are called Copic Markers, and I like them because the way that the colors blend, they are very expensive. So you may or may not use these. To be honest, I don't think that the type of marker makes a huge difference as long as you're comfortable using them. So you can use Copic markers, you can use any old markers. And I think of color as kind of the next level. You can go a long way with just pen or one single color. I had my gray marker for the longest time to just add shadows. So yeah, the Copic markers is the ones I use. I'm going to push it. I don't know if you can see it like this. COPIC.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did put that in the chat as well.
Yeah, I think it's easier to read in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did anyone share their sketch notes? I'm going to do it on my first before I because it's a little bit complicated to switch back and forth. So let me see. Latest. Aha! All right, let me switch my window back. Sketchnoting for all, refresh. Let's see. Well, of course, you can also search that at home. Internet. Yay! All right, so we have some sketch notes coming in, and I just love seeing what everybody does because the style is so different, even though you are listening to the exact same talk, and I literally asked you to copy me. So this is from Sheila, and I really like just how everything look, and her quotes points in a different way. Yeah, let me check the other one. Go back. Oh, and Rachel. Ooh, I have more. All right, let me click on Rachel's. Oh, no need to open in a new tab. I guess streaming takes a lot of internet. It's a bit slow to load. Yay! All right. I love the stars at your bullet point and also the big letters. Wow, that L has some character. This is so cool. And yes, yeah, it's okay if you don't have Twitter. This is just one way that I've been using to connect with other people. Okay, let me click on the hashtag. Oh, wow. Cool. I wasn't expecting a picture, but yay. Ooh, look at that sushi. Thank you, Dominica. Ooh, fish. Yay. Awesome. Wow, I love all the icons you added to the second bit. And the second bit, I don't know if you noticed, but like my slides are extraordinarily boring on purpose so that you have to figure out how to represent it in a fun way. And she added a pen and a camera. Looks so cool. Awesome. All right, let's click on latest. Sarah also shared her notes. Let's take a look. And I don't know if you noticed, I am very meta, so I love literal puns. So we are literally comparing notes. This makes me so excited. All right, so we have lots of interesting bullet point going on with triangles and check marks, and I love it. This is so cool. All right, let's go back. Ta-da! All right, I'm going to switch back to the slideshow of my sketchnote and talk through it a little bit in case people are interested. So I put together a selection and I put the date on top as well so you can see when do things happen. For me, a large part of this is kind of having that first sketchnote and realizing that this is totally something that I can do. That's why I would like to give this workshop and to give you that first set of tools that you can then build on top. If you look at the ones that have colors, I couldn't believe myself that 3 years after I first started doing it, I'm drawing portraits and things like that. But you can see it is not just like suddenly I know how to draw. I build it up step by step. I slowly add color. I slowly add more different ways of doing things. And then I get more comfortable with not just copying from a drawing or an icon, but actually taking something in real life and try to represent it as a drawing. So yeah, I am not one of the kids that grew up loving drawing. In fact, I remember as a kid, I was like naughty and like drawing on a wall, except it was not drawing, it was worse because it just doesn't occur to me that I should be drawing. So anyway, I'm gonna leave this this slideshow going and going to hang out a little bit for questions.
Hi, Chiu-Ki.
Yeah.
I really love your. I remember that sketch note with that giraffe there. Could you tell us the story of that giraffe, please?
Sure. So it will come back again. So basically, I took these sketch notes at I think Google I/O, and the talk ended, and somehow I left this very long, narrow space, and it looked really awkward. I think I probably already have my date and my name on it, so I can't chop it out. So I was like, oh, maybe I can put something there to occupy the space. And of course, a giraffe. So I just went to the internet and searched for a giraffe and drew it in and colored it. And it looks cute. It has nothing to do with the top, but I think people liked it.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite sketch notes by you. That giraffe, I just always remember that, because for me to be able to learn how to draw, it's okay, but I just can't like draw so fast like what you do. Like you have to like plan it out, and but like you said, if you leave a big space, and you came up with a very creative way of filling the space with a very cute giraffe.
Yeah, I totally end up seeing this not as drawing, but like a constraint satisfaction problem. Like I have this constraint, now I need to do something about it. And you know what? I'm an engineer. I'm very good at that. If you give me requirements and limited resources, I will make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Oh, I think we have a question. Do you add things later, like the giraffe, or detailing the heads? So the way I do it usually, I definitely don't do anything after the talk ended, because like that just adds up. That's just work after I go home. So for something like the giraffe, I think I spend a little bit of time after the talk has ended, maybe like 2 minutes to do it. What I like to do usually is in the beginning, when the speaker is introducing themselves, that says, which company they work for and things like that, I will use that time to make the title like nice and bold. And then sometimes you will have a little bit, I think of as low time, because I should have put that up and forefront. I don't put down every single thing that the speaker said. It's just not possible. I'm taking notes as highlights, right? So sometimes maybe the speaker is giving a backstory, and I will use that time to add colors, or I will use that to draw boundaries between my topics. So you can kind of reverse engineer. You can see my notes and kind of deduce how much like downtime I had. So yeah, I don't like to muck with my notes afterwards. Usually what happens is I take the notes, and then by the end, again, at the end, usually they have, contact information or links like that. So I usually have a little bit of time at the end to wrap up. And then I will take a picture and then post it on Twitter right away. So usually, basically, the notes are live maybe 5 minutes after the talk. So no, I don't usually add stuff afterwards.
Yeah, so Mike said that I would miss key points of the talk I'm attending while drawing something. I think I would be able to identify with that a bit, because I feel like you have to like multitask with something like taking photos, writing down the notes, and making sure everything is good. It's just amazing how you do it so fast. Anyway, Anna asked the question, how do you organize your notes when you don't have an outline? Do you ever remake them to make them more organized?
Yeah. So in terms of organization, if you look at the notes, a lot of them are just blobs. So if you can think of, sometimes when people give talks, they will have kind of section headings, right? Like they have a section heading slide, and then they talk about a few points, and they keep going. So I would just put them in and then circle them, and then I will do it what I call McDonald's burger style, top to bottom, left to right. So I'll first put it top left corner, and then I'll put it right next to it, and then I'll keep going. So that way, if the talk suddenly ended, I would just have one big space at the end, which sometimes I'll put like a big URL or like a big takeaway from the speaker. Because sometimes speakers say, if there's one thing I want you to learn from this talk, is this. Then I'm like, yes, I'll put it in big letters, and I'll put like bubbles or some decorative style around it to fill the space. So that's usually how I organize things. Basically, it's like whimsical on purpose, so that when it is not perfectly lined up, it still looks fun. Yeah, I think the Google I/O one is a really good example of, I have no idea how many things are going to be said. I think one of the talks, I was expecting it to be an hour. It was an hour and a half, so it was a mess, but I just learned to love it. It's fine.
So it looks like, not only you have to draw and write down the notes, but also it's not like writing down all the notes. You have to be able to like quickly be able to summarize that in your head of all the highlights, right? To write it down.
That sounds really stressful. The way I look at it is whatever interests me is what I will be able to capture and write down.
Okay.
So I remember once an organizer asked me, "Is like, hey, we would like you to do some sketch notes. Is there anything we can do to help you?" I said, "Make your talks interesting." I mean, as a joke, because if
Okay.
I lost interest, then that's nothing that I'm going to be able to capture.
Mm.
So that's pretty much kind of it's like a hand and eye and brain coordination. And yes, usually I'm really tired by the end of the day if I'm taking sketchnote all day. It's very draining. But just don't stress about like capturing all the highlights. I mean, sure, there are people on Twitter that's like, you missed this point, and I'm like, so I mean, it's my notes. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Who said I have to capture everything?
Yeah, that's a good tip. Not so much of covering all highlights, but the points, the highlights are what interests you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then someone asked, we have quite a few questions coming up. Yeah. How do you organize your notes when you don't have an outline? But I think that's
I just answered that
the
one,
same, yeah, as before. And then another question, do you use any specific black pen?
So I have been using this one. It's called Papermate Ink Joy. I don't know if you can see it. I think it's too much reflection for you to see.
Yeah. Maybe we can share after the event. We could gather some of the notes about the kind of marker and the pen.
Yeah,
and we share with the audience with some pictures. And then someone's asking, do you polish the notes after the talk, like shading or adding icons?
Nope, no. The only time I've done that once, and that's because I attended a talk that is Harry Potter themed, and I happened to have some space at the end of the page. And then like the next day I was watching some doodling YouTube channel, because once you get started in the drawing, you get interested in things like that. And she was teaching how to doodle Harry Potter, and I was like, this is perfect. So I ended up doodling Harry and Ron and Hermione right after the notes and color them in. That was the only one time that I did it. Otherwise, no, I don't add anything afterwards.
And here's another question. Any tips for making those people avatars in your sketch notes? Like that slide that going through.
Yeah.
There's one with all the people there.
So the first tip that I will give is that the ears of the person is at the middle of the head. It's not what you think it is. So usually what I do is I draw half of the face and I put the ears in. And then I just make a few observations and draw those to help kind of highlight the features of the person. So I try to see if the nose is narrow or wide and tall or short. So if you look at the portrait, you can see sometimes they're like just like a upside down 7 pointy. Sometimes they are more round. And then the eyes, I try to see if they're big or small. And then the mouth, whether they have a wide smile or more like small mouth. And that's pretty much it. And then a little bit the shape of the chin, again, whether it's pointy or round or more square. Hair is the part that's very expressive, actually. So I will try to represent the hair. I mean, not a lot of detail, right? So, for example, whether it's straight or curly. If they have earrings, I definitely would draw those. And then it's the shirt. Unfortunately, a lot of people just like to wear a t-shirt, so there's not much to work with. So I practice those at home ahead of time, just the normal t-shirt neck, and then the polo neck, which has the little collar on it. To be completely honest, I enjoy drawing portraits for women a lot more because they have more fun clothes and colors. Because otherwise, usually the man it's just like literally a gray t-shirt. So, but I find that usually it's almost reverse. I will draw the portrait if I think it looks interesting. So sometimes I'll skip the portrait because it's a gray t-shirt. I think that's actually a secret that people don't realize. It's like I am very selective. I choose to draw things that I think I draw well. So a lot of the notes, it's just words and little hearts and stars, and that's fine. You don't have to draw. But when I decide to add the drawing, it's because I have time, and B, I have something that I think I can quickly do it. And of course, with more practice, that universe expands. But yeah, so it's a lot of it is just varying the size of the nose, really, and that's like the middle of the face.
I feel like you can almost give us another session on just talking about drawing those avatars and faces. It sounds so interesting, honestly.
That could be fun.
Yeah, maybe we should have another session about just drawing the faces. So there's another person asked a question. Do you sketchnoting engineering meetings? Seems like different flow than collaborative work through ideas or design.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good question, but in fact, Chiu-Ki, all of your sketchnotes I've seen, a lot of times I'm there with you. It's all tech conferences, right?
Yeah. So that's another trick. I don't do it at engineering meetings because when it's a tech talk, the speaker already thought ahead of time how to organize the information. So the information is pre-organized, and it's much easier to drop that down onto a piece of paper versus when you're in a meeting and people are working out the ideas and discussing and things are going just all over the place. It's more difficult. So no, I don't. I mean, when I take notes these days, I will sometimes add a little bit of sketchnoting elements. So for example, I like to make check boxes with a shadow for no reason, just because now I know how to make check boxes with shadows. But otherwise, no, when it's like a discussion, I don't find that very fruitful. But other people do that. It's up to you. That's just how I handle it.
Okay. I think Inchi was reminding me there are a few questions we missed. So maybe we will just go through all these questions and then for what we have, and then maybe close it, and then we can answer all the other questions later remotely. Does that sound good? So here are a couple more questions that we missed, or I missed. One is, does Copic marker smear on gel pen?
Yes, you do have to wait a little bit before you color. So Copic also makes a like a pen, like thin liner, I think is what it's called. I tried it. I didn't like the way the ink flows. It is forever a quest to find the pen that works well with you. So yeah, you do have to wait a little bit, otherwise it does smear. And then when it smears, I'm like, oh no. So if you know a better pen, please let me know. I am still looking.
Okay, great. And I think there was one more question, but I feel like this question has been asked before. The question is, do you color the same time or later? Right. Basically, like you write the notes and color, or do you like write all your notes and then you color later on?
Yeah, so I usually color it on the go, but not at the same time, meaning I will write down the notes, and then when there are little quiet time almost, then I'll color it. So usually sometimes it's transitioning, or just, maybe the speaker is demonstrating some code and stepping it through one by one, and I can kind of follow while color. So the color, I see them as optional, to be honest. If I have time during the talk to do it, I do it. If not, then I just leave it.
Okay. Great. I'm going to ask you one last question. This question is for me, and then should we probably just close. So, Chiu-Ki, do you take drawing classes in your spare time?
So, interesting story there. Before I did all that, I went to a drawing class, and I was like, this is hopeless. I can never learn to draw. And I think the reason is because I don't think I actually want to learn to draw. What I wanted to learn is to illustrate. So I want to take concepts, or take things I see and then translate that onto a visual way of representing it. And a lot of the drawing classes are really focused on getting the proportions right, and the shading, and like which side is lit, which is valid skills, but I just didn't care. So once I realized that what I want to learn is illustrating, and what I do is I'll go to Google image search and I'll search for whatever I want to draw, like strawberry. I will search strawberry and cute because that's the style I like, or kawaii, which is Japanese for cute. And then I'll look at all the pictures, and then I'll pick the one that I like and I copy it. And that was so much better because I actually directly jump to the end result, and it gives me so much positive feedback. Because once I have reverse engineer one and figured out, okay, so if I want to draw a strawberry, I should draw the kind of triangle shape first so that I can anchor the leaves on top, and then put on the little seeds. Then you kind of get a hang of how to see something and then figure out its structure and then translate that onto illustration. So no, I have not taken drawing classes since. I may in the future, but with a very clear objective in mind, like knowing that, okay, if you are going into drawing class trying to learn to illustrate, that's not going to work. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Chiu-Ki.
Yeah.
This has been a great session. I learned a lot. I actually was drawing along, following your instructions. I will put it on Twitter. I also, many thanks to you, Chiu-Ki, and I also like to thank everybody for attending GGG Seattle and the GGG Boulder. This is a great joint event, and also being able to do such a hands-on workshop online. This is amazing. Thank you very much.
Yay, thank you. And thank you everybody for coming.
Great. Bye.
Bye. Okay, now.